All right.
Someone is going to get wounded seriously by the end of this episode. I can guarantee it.
Sweet.
Emotionally, physically, or otherwise.
I'm going to say in keeping with the subject matter, I think it's just going to happen one way or the other.
Man, I'm so close to just burning everything to the ground.
Man, you look so drained, it's like you got leeches on your balls right now. It's
Seriously.
just devastating.
Emotional rock bottom.
Oh, good. Well, that's a story I need to hear. But first, by the eternal, behold.
Behold!
It's the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm barely John.
And I'm, I guess, Michael. Still, maybe.
I am also, I guess, myself.
Whew,
I
that's really
could conceivably be myself if you picked me in a lineup.
I may or may not be the person currently inhabiting this body, also known as Michael.
Is this 38 or 37?
38.
This 38, yes.
It's episode 38. So I feel like in the 37 plus hours prior to this, there's enough to put you away.
Without question. Michael has now gotten so paranoid that he has started to note every 7-Eleven he walks out of. He'll turn around to see where he lands on the height check, walking in and out. It's just like,
so he's turned into the dude from Mr. Robot, the guy who played Freddie Mercury in the Queen biopic.
yeah, that guy with the teeth.
Yeah, where in
the
Mr.
face
Robot,
and the name.
we're rewatching it right now, and he's walking down the street, and there's anybody in a suit, and he's just like, "What do you want?" That's Michael leaving a 7-Eleven.
What do you want?
Anybody making eye contact with him, he's like, they know.
Oh, shit.
Particularly police officers going in for their 2 a.m. donut, and he's just standing there with no pants in front of the change machine like, what?
This is
Thought
my
it was
home,
America.
right? I have rights.
Oh, man. Well, hey, how your guys' week's been?
Don't everybody talk at once.
Yeah. I asked the question, so I can wait for the response.
I guess it's a week. I did go I guess pseudo camping. Girlfriend's
You went camp?
mother.
You went and shopped for Sudafed?
So you
Yes.
shot your girlfriend in the ass with a tranquilizer dart and then hung her on the wall? Is that?
No, that's next weekend.
Okay.
No, her mom and boyfriend have property out at in 339th Avenue and 20 miles north of Indian School Road or something like that.
She has a name.
Well, we chain her up out there. But
D'Artagnan.
but I stayed the night out there. That was pretty nice. Did a little target shooting until we got told off by locals that we're still within city limits of Wickenburg. So that was a little awkward.
Tranquilizer darts are a problem, Michael. It's going to get you into further trouble with the law.
Well,
Yeah.
it's because they sound like normal bullets, when they go off, and I need to fix my
So does
silencer.
John, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, I'm done.
You done?
No, I'm actually a great deal more uplifted than I was last week, having
That's good.
heard our album in full for the most part now, and
Yes.
it's a blessed relief that.
It is a very it's a big accomplishment that I should have expected for it to feel that way, but I underprepared for how big of an accomplishment it felt like to listen to it. So
It's kind of akin to a drug fiend chasing smack for hours and hours on end, and when you finally get home and you just get to fix up, you're like, oh, thank God, I get to stop doing this for at least another 4 hours while I just let this course through me. So
The first thing
been
that came
nice.
to mind was Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, the
oh,
shit that they go through. and
finally getting
end, yeah, just
yeah.
as opposed to your film pitch, which is Harold and Kumar Go to Nuremberg.
I still
So I
am a little
gotta-
proud of that.
That is good.
Yeah, it's a fun time for all involved parties. Speaking of films, before we dive in, I will say this week's topic is, of course, myths surrounding the filming, creation, and writing of the film The Exorcist. And so, as I explain, we're going to dive in here before we finish up. I want John to explain the trials and tribulations that have been his week, because he looks constipated. what we typically do here is we will dive into an esoteric topic or an obscure topic for those of you who do not frequent thesaurus.com. And we will try to unveil all that there is to know from a Wikipedia article about said topic. But in the course of explaining that to one another, we will whip in a little lie from time to time and leaven that in there. And the goal is for the co-hosts to then pick out those lies as they are occurring. That is the goal. We don't always get that touchdown, and sometimes some people get shaved because of it.
I'd say we're probably at like a point. Well, I'm not into math like Michael, but I think we're at like a...
Why are you just talking shit about what I pretend to do?
I think we're at like
theorize like
0.05% success rate.
Yeah, our batting average is horrible. We are not making it onto a ball team at any point in the near future.
If this podcast was the pull-out method, we would have a bunch of children.
And how? So, tell us about the joyful tributaries that you're rolling down these days, my little salmon friend.
Salmon friend? Oh, I get it.
Swimming upstream.
Yeah. I don't know if I touched on this on last. Did I? Yeah, I said Twitter was no solace last week.
Mm-hmm.
Did I have a equal to Shane rant on how I feel about humanity as a whole?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
Shane's been the only angry person.
After falling into a Twitter hole of just seeing protesters and the whole like.
I can't go to the Cheesecake Factory.
I officially had my Shane moment. My Shane at the beginning of the whole thing moment where I kind of threw my hands up in the air. I was like, maybe I should just smash my phone to bits and just, like, in little vignettes, if you will, watch the world just fucking kill itself, because we all deserve what's coming to us, and I have no fucking faith in humanity. And I think it's almost high time that I just go into nihilistic Satanism.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
It also doesn't help that when you're feeling that way and then you read and then watch Watchmen, which is a very, very bleak in general, especially when you get to the end and when you're identifying with the people that you shouldn't identify with. Jesus Christ.
I obviously think I need to get a t-shirt that says Ozymandias wasn't wrong.
Oh my
I'm probably going to get that someday.
I will say that the film is great, and I don't understand the flack that it catches even with the changes that it made. But the one thing I agree with the people that dislike the movie is that bombs dropping, or not bombs, but, you know, what is it, intrinsic field that they detonate, essentially destroying the city with Dr. Manhattan's power versus dropping a psychic fucking squid on major cities. It's not as sexy just to do the bomb. You gotta do the squid.
I think there is something that is a bit more insidious about having it traced back to Dr. Manhattan, is that you have to eliminate him from the scene. And I don't think that they figured like the whole he causes cancer was going to fly as easily as it did in the book. So having him have just another measure that kind of alienates him, pun intended, but I did enjoy the psychic squid. I thought that was a lot and it's very comic booky. So the two can exist in their own realms. It's like we talked about. The source material is always the source material. You can get back to it. Now,
that being said, I'm about to rewatch the HBO. And I think at this point it's safe to call it a limited series. So I think he doesn't have any intention of coming back with more. But, and it's not a spoiler at all, but in the TV show, they go with the canon from the graphic novel.
Oh.
So I think in the pilot, there's a scene where they pull over on the side of the road while driving home because there is a shower of tiny squid, and they have they stop. They just run their blades and, you know, let it pass, and they deal with people that have the PTSD from getting hit by the psychic blast but not dying from it. So there's some really cool shit in there. I think that the TV show, and again, I'll report back after a rewatch, might be the ultimate piece for me.
I need to watch it very badly. I just have not quite bitten the bullet because I fell down my own rabbit holes at this point, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Did I also talk about yet how everything's on hold? Like as far as like the things that I did, the facets of our personality.
Yes.
Everything. Okay, cool. That's the only other thing. It's just culminating into a abyss like environment where everything feels like a monkey's paw. So there's always something that happens where it's like, oh hey, by the way, bottle shop's open, but then there are asterisks and other things where I'm like, I don't know, maybe just fucking put a bullet in that concept's head at this point. I don't give a shit anymore.
It really, like, if you're trying to get a sense of normalcy, it's really difficult, particularly for those that have any sort of extroverted tendencies. For the introverts amongst us, and I will count myself as a major card-carrying member of that throng, this does not bother me at all. And we had a staff meeting today amongst managers for the library, and I almost felt bad because they're all talking about how they miss seeing each other and they miss being busy and being involved in projects and being involved in going to work. And I'm sitting back there, I'm like, I am living in infinite bliss right now, not having to encounter people or do anything. It's like the greatest encumbrance to my life is I have to be a little more leery of the number of times I go to the store to get coffee creamer. Other than that, I'm pretty much functioning, sitting in tall cotton at this point. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, being the hybrid of that, like I am fine being by myself, but the things that I'm passionate about, and I'm not saying this doesn't apply to you, the things that I'm passionate about, now that I don't have anything else to focus on, I become hyper emotional on the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So if anyone tries to fuck with it, I instead of having like a gradual build up to wanting to kill you, it's an immediate switch of like, I need someone to hold me back.
Hair trigger.
Very much so.
As again, why you probably would have really enjoyed and hated me at your age, which is something that I can say and get away with because there's been enough degree of separation there. But yeah, I was very much the same way, particularly like mid-20s around a certain time. I was particularly volatile about everything. And you can imagine me now where this has tempered me. That was a salty bastard. Not fun to be around.
Damn.
But yeah, that's the short long of it, if you will.
Okay, Michael, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm expecting the no, so I'm just gonna, hold off and
if
run
it's
with
a
it,
movie, then no.
it is not.
Okay.
Did you listen to that podcast that I recommended to you?
Also no. No, I did forget to do that.
I mean, the ADD thing is gonna only go so far.
I wasn't gonna blame that. I just genuinely forgot.
But I'm just,
well, because I did start listening to podcasts, and I caught up. I started listening to another podcast, so it's honestly there's no real excuse for me not doing it. I just didn't.
That's good.
I'll send you a link, and then that will help reinforce in your memory that it is an assignment. Because I just re-listened to it myself as well, because I thought it would be an interesting talking point. So, table this.
Also, Michael, there are shorter and more efficient ways for you to tell Shane to fuck himself.
No, I can't remember what. So, all right. So after we're done recording, before we all hang up on this Zoom thing.
What's a Zoom?
Exactly.
We're all in the same room because we're it doesn't matter anymore.
Zoom.
Make your heart go.
But I will look it up. I will show you proof that it will be downloaded, and that will be my next listen.
There is something drastically wrong with your neck. I don't know why you hubu-GB this thing every 10 to 20 seconds. We're like, Akeem the African Dream over here.
I don't know. I'm just like an owl, just like, I don't know. I'm not using my fidget cube thing.
The spotted asshole over here. Yes.
Future
you
me
are
can
an
fucking
endangered
suck a dick.
species. Click.
Shane, before we dive into this spooktacular topic, can I ask you a scary question?
I'm prepared. Yes. It is not supposed to look that way. If it's that inflamed, you should probably see a doctor.
Have you ever imagined a pig with tits?
I mean, I've been forced to deal with a pig with tits on several occasions now, and I hate the both of you for it, so thank you.
Titty.
I like that just Michael was so goddamn lazy, he couldn't just ask you to send him the picture
I
again.
just left it in the show notes.
Shane, you should look this up. Yeah,
in the course of this
in,
week,
please.
Michael hit up our group chat, or our podcast group chat, and asked for a link to Mr. Titty Pig's
No,
socials.
I didn't even do that. I
No,
literally
he
left
didn't.
it in the show notes
Hey.
for Shane. Can you add this, please? And then
Yeah, so
Shane
I had to ask.
Did you guys notice the his cover photo on his Twitter?
No.
No, because I didn't click the link.
Well,
Ugh.
for you both and for you listeners, it's a little Easter egg to our show because it is clay pigs doing the hear no, see no, speak no.
Oh shit! I did see that.
So that was a
it would be
beautiful-
really, really meta if he's a listener.
What are the
Well-
like 5?
he has acknowledged at this point that he is aware that he has been featured on Your Mom's House podcast.
Oh,
But that's contextually when Your Mom's House releases. They release on Wednesdays around noon. By 1:00, I think they already have probably upwards of 1,000 upvotes on YouTube, or like thumbs up. So the reach is pretty big. But that being said, if you are listening and you are out there, Mr. Titty Pigman, please email us and I will give you Shane's personal phone number.
that isn't a threat, my friend. Like, I don't have to see him with the phone. That's fine. I'll talk to him because I'm intrigued as hell as to what, Miss Talon has done to force him to want to suction cup himself into a C cup.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm one bad managerial decision away from just putting the suction cups on my own tits. So I'm sure there's a story there.
Well, while at work, is that why there's the managerial aspect to it?
At this point, I mean, I'll do anything for money. I have an OnlyFans. I'll plug that at the end of the episode.
Well, I have an oral exam I'm going to have you take later.
Oh, I can't even feel anything in my throat anymore, so I'm ready.
Okay, good. The COVID caught up.
Yeah.
I started rewatching Sons of Anarchy this week, and some of the jokes are still kind of rough to stomach
I bet.
the second time, but it's such a good show. I'm enjoying it as much as the second or third pass as I did the first.
So I have a question for you, and then a follow-up that's another. It's on the same network.
Okay.
One, I forget, is that a traditional like 12, 13 episode per season? Or is that a
Yes.
22? Okay,
It's
cool.
12, 13, yeah.
I've been debating rewatching it because I did like it the initial go around. Secondarily, now on Hulu, they have a partnership with FX, so a bunch of the old FX shows are coming onto Hulu, and one that I am wondering how well it's held up in the PC culture. Speaking of, the jokes that don't quite land or the concepts that don't quite land, is Nip Tuck.
Ooh, okay. I thought you were going to go with Always Sunny, but
No,
that seems to be
Always Sunny is
evergreen for everybody.
Yeah, Always Sunny is kind of irreverent because they got ahead of it. Like they make the problematic situations and the problematic jokes, but then they are so heavily satirical that you can't help but walk away going, oh yeah, they know that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, like, the very few episodes that I have seen, I would definitely agree that, like, it's a very satirical look at those sort of problems.
I will say there are 2 Always Sunny episodes that everyone should watch. That include Shane, Michael, and the listeners. And it's appropriate for our current time. I don't have the episode number, but I have the name, so you can look it up. The Gang Gets Quarantined is one. That has an infamous moment with DeVito. That, like, if you search Always Sunny DeVito GIFs, usually comes up, and it's him.
I'm gonna say the N-word. That meme, or so anyway, I started black. There's a lot,
Michael,
of.
I thought you were prefacing that, and I was getting really ready for a big word.
No, that's a meme. At one point, he's gesturing to like a junkyard. He's like, "I'm gonna say the N-word."
What N-word are you referring to?
Huh?
Neanderthal?
See, that's the slippery slope. No,
Nightmare?
it's Danny.
I don't know what N-word he's talking about. That's the whole context of the meme. Or suicide is badass, or...
If you don't know what N-word he's referring to, Michael...
I do, I'm
will
just being facetious.
bludgeon you about the head and shoulders with my own
Do
dick.
you want the answer, Michael?
Is it a meme that I've seen on Reddit?
It is
Okay.
Danny DeVito with no hair on his body, wearing nothing but his tidy whities, smothered in when you watch the episode Purell, in the caption is what he says is, "I just wanted to be pure."
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one. I've seen plenty because some parts of Reddit pretty much worship Danny DeVito. But no, I have not seen that one.
What's funny and ironic about that is that's how my uncle died.
Is your uncle Danny DeVito?
No, sadly. He looks like Danny DeVito, just if he got brute fucked by a gorilla for 5 years.
The bruises, too many to count.
The other episode is Mac and Dennis move to the suburbs, or something along those lines. Seriously, especially Michael, since I don't know if you watch any Always Sunny, but
I've seen a couple.
Yeah, I would highly recommend those episodes. It doesn't require that you know a lot of backstory on any of the characters to appreciate and find them funny. So, anywho, that was a tangent.
That's what we like. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I intended to watch The Exorcist last night, but I forgot what day it was. So.
It's okay. We're all sitting with our heads in a vice presently, so I'll indulge you both with a bit of, minded forgetfulness from time to time.
Bless you.
Yes, thank you. I didn't even sneeze. Well, are we prepared for this?
No.
Firstly, I should ask, Michael, have you even seen The Exorcist?
No.
I have seen bits and pieces. I don't know for certain if I've seen it all the way through in one sitting, but I would probably say that I have seen all of it at some point or another, but I don't know if I've seen it all at once.
Can I ask you a pointed question?
Okay.
Did someone molest you with a movie theater? Why is this sudden, like, you have got an aversion to watching films that is just heretofore unprecedented?
I have an aversion to just watching stuff in general. Like, honestly, I think it's because I will fall asleep.
Because of your ADD.
Regardless. I'm gesturing here, shrugging. I don't know. It was actually one of the things that, it was in one of my classes, my freshman year in college. Like, no matter how interested I was in something, like, I would always fall asleep, whether it was school, TV, movies, what have you.
I would kill to have your ability to sleep then.
Oh, no, I can't fall asleep normally. It's only when I'm watching something I'm interested in. But if I lay down to fall asleep, nah, insomnia. Fuck you.
Would you say that you fall asleep around your girlfriend a lot?
I was going to say, in the midst of us talking, I did say sex, and we all kind of converged there, so you likely didn't hear it. But yeah,
no,
that was
I
my
did.
Asterisk.
I don't know. No.
And Kermit, calm down.
No, because I'm actively doing something. It's all about actively doing something.
Well,
I will
to
fall
your
asleep
logic,
if I'm not.
To your logic, that means you're not that interested.
No, if I was just lying there, I would fall asleep. By doing the work,
just lying
I'm
there
not falling asleep.
on the floor there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to poke holes.
Oh, you're trying to poke holes. I've seen you do it. All right. Well, I've written a bit of highbrow sort of analytics here for us, and we'll see how easily we get through this, because surprisingly enough, the articles that are written about this phenomena are, let me tell you,
extensive.
Severely lacking in any sort of literary sensibility, and it's really unfortunate.
What?
So, and there were only 3 or 4 that I found, so apparently this is not as deep and rich a subject for clickbait as I expected it to be. So, there are, and I will tell you up front, there are 3 lies.
One per article that you found.
I actually read 4 articles, thank you. I had 6 tabs open. I was John Watkins for at least 20 minutes.
6 tabs?
In a row?
Tabs.
What?
Indeed. All right, so empathy is a primary component to the connectivity of the human experience.
Bullshit.
You're right.
It's actually apathy.
We are all sociopaths, and we cannot wait for everyone to combust.
I like the apathy better than the empathy. Connecting.
You're right, Michael. It's easier to beat a child than it is to raise it. It's much easier to just sit on your couch and say, I want to eat cheeseburgers and not accomplish anything.
I have been describing myself as apathetic as of late.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Sorry,
I felt like I needed to say something like that.
Sorry, this isn't my therapist. Oh, fuck, I'm in the wrong Zoom chat.
Mispronounced.
No, don't leave, John.
The meeting has ended. Anyway.
So, fuck you both, and we're just gonna move forward here. So, directed by William Friedkin, based on the best-selling novel by William Peter Blatty, The Exorcist is one of the most iconic films of all time, existing as a groundbreaking film in the supernatural suspense/horror genre, as well as a box office juggernaut. Anecdotally, attendees say the film was so emotionally unnerving for audiences that theaters resorted to providing filmgoers with vomit bags for screenings, and staging paramedics in theaters showing the film. Wrapping this package in a quaint and brilliant bow is the fact that the book and film are based on a true story of a demonic possession and eventual exorcism of a young boy, given the pseudonym Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim in subsequent literature to protect his identity.
Is that bullshit?
That is not.
I thought it was always a chick.
No, based on a young boy. I actually read the
Roland
article that Blatty based it on today as well. Blatty actually wrote a book about the making of the film and translating it from book to film, which is very intriguing in case you get a wild hair.
Not to digress, but the book fucked me up severely.
What's funny is if you really enjoyed the book, I would heartily recommend that you read the follow-up. There is another novel following called Legion, which follows the detective as he tracks down a serial killer that is referred to as... it's not the Zodiac Killer, but it's essentially a takeoff on the Zodiac Killer.
Didn't they make a really shitty movie on that, too?
Blatty directed it. It is Exorcist 3.
There we go.
So, and the concept for the book is really quite wonderful, in that the demon is body hopping and committing murders by possessing people.
Okay.
So, supernatural thriller and a detective genre, and it has the same detective from the book and film as well, Kinderman, who was investigating the murder. So,
Wonderful.
Dope.
All right, then.
yeah, it's good. The movie is actually, if you've not seen the film, it's much better having read the book and knowing that Blatty directed it. It worked really well. I actually enjoyed but it's Exorcist 3, not Exorcist 2. It's not a direct sequel in film.
Got it.
All right. So, Blatty's book depicts many real occurrences from Doe's actual case, liberally peppered with some sensationalist scenes and supernatural events to enliven the tale. Naturally, the story was so engaging that Friedkin elected to option and direct the film following a personal entreaty from Blatty, vaulting the story of Regan McNeil into the national consciousness forevermore. The cultural conversation around the film, which also encompassed its treatment of Roman Catholicism, helped it become the first quote-unquote horror film to be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture, one of 10 Academy Awards it was nominated for, winning for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Sound Mixing. It has remained high in critical esteem and enjoyed commercial success ever since, for many years after its release, remaining the top grosser in the supernatural horror and R-rated horror subcategories. It became the highest-grossing R-rated film upon release and held that record for 18 years until it was surpassed by... Anyone want to take a guess?
The Happening.
Silence of the Lambs?
1991's Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
I would
Ooh.
not... I wouldn't say that's a horror movie.
Well, I think it's saying it's the highest grossed rated R film.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I missed that.
I can
Yep.
see that. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
The film has also had a significant influence on popular culture, and several publications have regarded it as one of the greatest horror films of all time. There is argument, however, because neither Friedkin nor Blatty consider it a horror film. They all say it's a supernatural suspense film, that the horror is a mislabel.
I would kind of agree with that.
I
Yeah,
tend
yeah.
to, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The English film critic Mark Kermode named it as his favorite film of all time. I don't know who Mark Kermode is, nor why he is relevant to Wikipedia, but apparently he was.
It's probably
You don't know who
it's
that
probably
guy
the,
is?
It's probably the editor of that article. And he just wants
You'd imagine, yes.
Sure.
In 2010, the Library of Congress selected the film to be preserved as part of the National Film Registry as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. So, The film is also a source of controversy outside of its running time. The filming process itself is mythic due to a series of strange occurrences which took place, and surrounding rumor from the cast and crew claiming they felt a darkness surrounding them, and the unexplained incidents that took place whilst making the film. So, are you ready for these, gentlemen?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Ha ha! Well played. So, firstly, is the unexplained fire. The first set of the film caught fire on... Oh my god. So, again, you're going to have to give... Because I edited this to the best of my ability, but some of this is ghastly, and I didn't have time to really pick through all of it. So, this is the exact phrase. The first set of this film had caught on fire, and everything on the set, except for Regan's room, where most of the exorcism scenes were to be shot, was still intact. For some reason,
that sounds like a sentence ripped from My Immortal.
Yeah, it's a bit unwieldy. Let's say that. So, long story short, too late. They built the first set. It caught fire. Apparently, and I think I go into detail on this later on because, again, I fused a bunch of these together. But the fire was started by a pigeon.
No.
Yes, a pigeon flew into an electrical box, and then it caught fire and sparked and burnt the whole set down.
I do believe that more and more. Last summer, at Bottle Shop, we kept having refrigeration issues. Severe, where we were getting calls left and right from people working, or like in our threads being like, hey, the walk-in, like where all the kegs are stored, like everything's pouring all fucking weird, and I go in there and the thermometer is like, it's almost like 60 or 70 degrees when it's supposed to be like between 35, 40, whatever.
Okay.
And we had tech after tech come out, and finally someone went onto the roof, and there was a pigeon that had died, like in one of the vents. That essentially, pigeons fucking suck, man. Everywhere. Also,
bird brains are notoriously small.
Birds are a lie. Also, I learned that this week. Birds don't exist. They are just tools used by the government to spy on you. And the reason that COVID is happening is so that the government can replace the batteries in all of the birds. And also, when you see those little fuckers hanging on the power lines, it's so that they can recharge.
I see.
So you learned that here first.
Welcome to Night Vale, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man. No, I have heard that quote-unquote conspiracy theory as well. So, but that... I like it. Well, I honestly, that's my headcanon for why this is going on.
Well, on the topic of birds.
I'll give you a couple.
Hey!
So, due to the unexpected fire, the shooting of the film was delayed by 6 weeks. It's also very interesting that Regan's room is the only area that did not catch fire.
Right.
It was protected by a demonic presence.
You would think. Ooh. So, actor Jack McGowran, which played director Burt Dennings, and said the phrase "yo cunting daughter" on film is always nice. He's a British chap, Michael.
Okay. I was about to do the censor, but that word has different context in Britain, and everyone says it all the time. So
it's acceptable if I affect a British accent, then.
That's what he's saying.
All right, then. Well, cunt.
Don't tempt me.
Tempt you a cunt.
And also, the actress Vasiliki Milarios.
I think it's called vasectomy.
It could be. Comparative.
Michael, you made a joke.
Ha!
You got balls, Michael. Well done.
I'm feeling fat and sassy.
Yeah, well, you are both. So,
God damn.
So both of them shortly passed. Shortly passed.
Oops.
It's a quick death, apparently.
I regret nothing.
All right, so both passed shortly after filming wrapped on the film. McGowan died of the flu, and vasectomy died of natural causes.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't like a blotch vasectomy because
a blotched,
be a little blotched, yeah,
botch.
Whatever.
I mean, if it's
Tomato,
blotched,
potato.
It has spots on it.
He speaks French. You should trust him.
Sacre bleu.
He's a cunning linguist. I've said that.
That's the same as fellatio, isn't it?
Yeah. According to you, it is. So Linda Blair's grandfather and actor Max von Sydow's brother also passed during the production.
People are just dropping like
stones.
fucking flies. Yeah.
Yes. The son of Mercedes McCambridge, who voiced the demon, killed his wife and 2 daughters before taking his own life following being accused of fraud in November of 1987. Bullshit. Absolutely factual.
Wow. Even the fraud?
Yes.
Fuck you, I'm not fraudulent. I'll kill everyone to prove it.
So all told, 9 people associated with the film perished violently, mysteriously, or during or immediately following the film.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, isn't that fun? So lighthearted fare for all involved parties. We've got fire and murder. Linda Blair, who was 14 years old when The Exorcist hit theaters in the United States, received a number of threats to her life following the release of the film. The threats were so plentiful, in fact, that Warner Brothers had to hire police bodyguards to live with the Blair family and follow them everywhere they went, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 6 months following the premiere of the film.
Sadly, I believe it.
Yeah, though I will say that if that happened today, that probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't have gotten the police detail.
I was going to say
that happens so often.
Yeah, and also by and large, the film itself is kind of unprecedented, and it was such a shock to the system of the American public, and something that was really unheralded. And they showed a lot of pretty graphic scenes, particularly involving a pubescent young lady, which I'm sure just got Michael all tingly in the nethers.
Yeah,
so, because that movie came out in 78, right?
73.
Oh,
well, not to mention that they went so hard at the Roman Catholic Church, like you were saying, where it really gets those religiously challenged people going. Is attacking their fake fucking god. So
you know what's funny though is that I don't feel like the film is as much an indictment of the church as it's claimed to be.
Again,
and I'll touch on that a little later.
People are the monsters in that movie.
It's what's funny is we can somewhat talk about this now because it all meets out here. But they talk about people being so disturbed that they had to have vomit bags and that they had to have EMTs on and things like this. The reason being, as pointed out by William Peter Blatty, was not any of the supernatural effects or occurrences or any of the gore. It was the medical sequences. In particular, the arteriogram, where they have to put the needle into her artery in her neck and that starts gushing. That is what caused the audiences to have the most violent reactions. So it was more the psychological underpinnings of watching this young girl tortured, essentially, through all of the medical issues that they had to try to put her, all the procedures they put her through testing her, more than watching the supernatural things, because they can distance themselves from that. There's a disconnect there.
I can believe that, especially because back when it came out, what was accepted, what was more culturally accepted from in terms of gore and stuff was, or not even gore, but just showing that sort of medical procedure is vastly different from today. Today you can have even a PG-13 movie probably where someone gets their throat slit and you just see the blood splurting out of it or something like that. But that's just, it's more culturally accepted. What comes to mind is my mother told me I watched the ending of the first filming of Carrie.
Okay.
So right after when she visits the grave of Carrie, and the hand comes out and grabs the ankle, I didn't even flinch at that. But my mom told me when she originally saw it in theaters, her and her friend were so shaken up that the theater manager actually called their parents to come pick them up because they were so terrified of leaving.
Wow.
Because just the hand.
Damn, man.
Just coming out of the ground. Yeah.
Your mom was a pussy.
Apparently, because I watched it and I was like, oh, cool. Hand.
Well, the reason I was touching on empathy at the beginning of it is that we look at films as sort of escapism, right? You want to go in the catharsis of the theater and things, is that you can see something that would never happen to you naturally and go through the experience and leave having endured that. And so you get the same experience of being traumatized by the event, but not actually having to endure it. And so when you put that into context against a medical procedure where you have a very high likelihood of encountering it, and depending upon if you're saying, if I just get a little mentally wonky, and, Father Karras's mother being put into the insane asylum before she passes away, like, I feel the movie's more of an indictment of the medical profession than it is the Roman Catholic Church, because ultimately what you have... The thing I pointed to, the reason I love this film is that while I don't necessarily believe, but I went and took demonology classes when I was in college and wanted to study this because I'm impressed by the fervency of faith that it takes, whether I believe it or not. But for someone to walk into a room where they believe someone is possessed by an ethereal being, a demon, and they're just going to battle it with an ampule of water and a book, and they're just going to read or write, and they somehow believe that this is going to protect them and that they can help this being sort of transcend the astral plane. That's impressive to me, and I find that incredibly emotionally stirring. The speech that they have at the end of the extended cut where they explain kind of the idea, the reason that the demon chose the young girl is to dispossess us of the notion that God could love us. It's really touching stuff, and so I find the thing about the film that engrosses me and sort of encapsulates me is that idea of the spiritual struggle, as opposed to what people post to the sensationalism of, the spider crawl and the girl throwing up on people and things. It's like, no, it's one of the greatest sort of character studies in film for me that I've ever encountered. So I love the build up. And so it's one of the things I really appreciate about the film. And so odd that we find it as the thing that ultimately jars people and is the most disturbing aspect is, the medical stuff. Yeah. Anywho, soapbox dismounted, and we will proceed. All right. I don't know why people would want to threaten Linda Blair. She's, was a sweet little girl at the time.
She's a nice lady.
So, during the initial filming of the masturbation sequence, which if you have never seen is actually somewhat comedic because they put a pad that they filled up with sort of like dye and had her actually just stab the crucifix into it as she was laying there so you could get the sound and get the motion and everything initially. So, very odd. But, a member of the crew, Rowena Glower, who was the assistant script supervisor, suffered what was classified later as an epileptic episode and collapsed during a take. She suffered no prior bouts of epilepsy, nor endured any further incidents over the course of her remaining film career. It was simply during this one take.
Okay.
The incident is often ascribed to shock from the violence and depravity of the act being depicted, but again, some people just like to kind of run with this stuff and sensationalize the story a bit. And it's also in spite of the fact that, Linda Blair was laughing through most of the things following the takes. And in spite of the fact that a puppet was used for the head doing the full 360s, they just had this weird, bizarre-looking puppet that they used for that sequence as well.
See, I thought she was just a really good actress, and she just did it.
Well, when you're flexible, you're flexible.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
how? Neck flexible, yes.
It's like an owl.
There's film careers based entirely on neck flexibility. John,
would you call them film?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, works of art. Thank you.
They were shot on celluloid, so I mean it counts.
Don't get me started on what gets shot on celluloid.
Wait,
why won't this feed back into the Tumblr again? I don't know. Had Peter North over here for screening the other day, and nothing's been the same. All right. William Friedkin, the director of the film, also had no qualms whatsoever about scaring his actors. He routinely fired guns without warning to startle performers into genuine reactions during takes.
No.
True.
God damn it.
At one point, he was reproached by actor Jason Miller, who said, "Never do that again. I'm an actor and I don't need these artificial stimulants." Apparently, the article says that you should check out the documentary Lost Souls, which chronicles the making of The Island of Dr. Moreau, which Friedkin also shot to see more of his antics, because apparently he's a very interesting director to work with.
So anyway, he started blasting.
Apparently.
Thank you. That's the main the meme that I see.
Lock the doors and hope Friedkin doesn't have a blaster. In order to achieve the effect of seeing the actor's breath, Friedkin also had the set for Regan's bedroom refrigerated. 4 giant air conditioners were run all night, reaching temperatures of below 30 or below 40 degrees. I actually just watched another documentary about this as well, and they said that they could only do short takes as well because people being in there and them running cameras, one, the cameras would freeze up, but then once they got the cameras rolling and having the actors in there, all the body heat generated would raise the temperature so you'd get the heat removed. Also, apparently, the air conditioners pull moisture out of the air, so then you wouldn't see breath anyway, so they had to then push moisture back in. The whole thing's a nightmare.
Yeah,
but,
that sounds like...
The air on set got so cold that when cast and crew members would sweat, it would freeze on their skin. And at one point, it snowed on the set on account of the moisture in the air from the cast and crew and then the additional moisture that they fed in. This was all particularly uncomfortable for Linda Blair, who was wearing nothing more than a thin nightgown and then her thermal underwear, which she was provided, where everyone else was allowed to wear like parkas off screen. However, 3 crew members suffered from pneumonia during the shoot, however, all recovered during the course of filming. But part of the perks of being on set where they're pushing things to minus 30 and minus 40 degrees, yeah?
I have a hard
I'm
time
gonna call
with...
bullshit on the recovery. I think they died. Did
No.
I beat you to the punch, John?
Yeah, but I just feel like I'm the one that's like really slap happy today. But I feel like
It's good.
I feel like minus 30 and minus 40 are way severe. Like I don't feel like you'd get anything done with minus 30 to minus 40.
True. They were. It was minus 30 and minus 40 degrees. They said it was ridiculous the amount that they had to freeze. And like I said, they were freezing up the film stock. They had to replace cameras when they were shooting at points because they just froze it to death.
Man, that's fucked up. That's crazy.
I mean, it kind of makes sense that you have to get it so cold because you have a lot of equipment in there and a lot of people.
And you couldn't do it in post.
Right. That's the thing is
Well,
like
when it look is authentic.
But you couldn't even do that. I mean, we're talking 1973 here,
True.
gentlemen.
Oh,
this is all practical
fair.
effects here. They couldn't CGI.
Yeah.
That's the reason the spider walk was not included in the film, is they could not get the strings out of the shot. You could actually see the strings as it was going down, so it was only in the 2000 director's cut that they were able to reinsert it into the film because they could finally rotoscope the strings out and have it look believable. So they actually, if you watch the documentary stuff on the Blu-ray, it's fascinating because they have a shot where they have to follow the doctors all the way up from the lower level to the second floor, and they had to arrange pulleys, and they didn't have, this is prior to Steadicams being invented, so they had to hang a guy on a swing, have him hold the camera, and then they would move the swing around from above the set. And so there were people that were moving the camera in front of it to orchestrate that entire shot. And it's just something that we take for granted today because they built stuff to work for it.
I was going to say it's crazy how much more effort it took back then and how we take it for granted now.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you can watch these, and we've had this conversation ad nauseum on the podcast about, and even you, Michael, touching on like your mom watching Carrie for the first time. But if you can remove your experience from it and put yourselves in the shoes of people back then and what they would have to do to pull these off, like it's truly magnificent. It's fucking incredible.
It's the reason I extolled the virtues of like An American Werewolf in London or Hellraiser is like what they did with practical effects in the 70s for like the whole scene I talk about where Frank reconstituting from the floor is one of my favorites because they had to literally build that entire model up and then melt it. And that is how they got the shot, is that they then filmed it as they were melting it, and then they ran the film in reverse. And they did the same thing with the goo coming up through the floor. Essentially, they sucked the stuff from the floor down into a little holding container, and then they ran the film in reverse. So just the ingenuity and the things that were done in filmmaking back then that we've kind of lost these days just because, like, oh, yeah, well, we can do it with a computer. And practical effects, to me, always look better than CGI stuff. It's just a disconnect I have. But
agreed.
Well, it also depends on how you utilize the CGI. Like, What was it? There was I can't remember where I saw it, but there was an excellent comparison between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, specifically with the dinosaurs. In the original Jurassic Park, you never really see the T-Rex in bright daylight, like just out there in the open. Like, especially during the original introduction of it, it was dark and it was stormy because they understood that the CGI wouldn't be uncanny. It wouldn't look as real. So you hide it. You rely on the darkness. Whereas in something like Jurassic World, with the CGI drastically improved, but still not great, they can still, it doesn't look as nice, because even though the technology is improved, it's still not, it doesn't look completely real.
Welcome to our cinema discussions, because the thing I loved about that as well is that, again, a lot of practical effects. They actually built the T-Rex head for that, first sequence where they're all in the Jeep and they encounter it. But it also became so saturated by water that they couldn't move it. At one point, they had to sit and squeeze all of the outer coating to get the water out, because the gimbal that they had it on wouldn't move. It got so heavy and saturated with rainwater after filming for a bit that they had to just shut it down because they couldn't move it at all. So the servos wouldn't fire, they couldn't make it move or articulate anything. So yeah, ridiculous. But also thinking about looking at CGI, I've been watching the Marvel movies. I decided to start
in order, like in the
ish. I've skipped some stuff because it's mostly I started with the Winter Soldier and just started watching from that forward, because I feel like the introductory films I've watched a lot, but man, the difference between Hulk on the Avengers to Age of Ultron to where it is now, like in the last couple films, man, we are light years away. In like 5 years, the difference is dramatic. So
yeah,
kind of nuts. All right. Would you like me to slap you in the face for a second here?
Please, preferably with your genitals.
Definitely, yes.
We're 2 lies down, so you've got 1 more left, and I've basically like a third through my material here, so.
Well, fuck.
Okay, so the set of the interior of the McNeil house caught fire during a shoot, causing significant delays in filming. This is where I was talking about earlier. So the initial fire was started by a pigeon, which flew into a circuit box and ignited an electrical fire. The set was wiped out apart from Regan's room, which was miraculously completely undamaged. The last rites scene, which we'll note is after the priest gets the demon into his own body and throws himself out of the window to prevent him from harming Regan.
The infamous stairs and what have you.
Yeah. The scene where Father Dyer comes and goes to administer last rites as he's laying there dying. It wasn't coming together properly, apparently. Following the emotional climax where Father Karras throws himself out of the window. And this was due in part to a less than stellar performance from real-life Jesuit priest Father William O'Malley. Friedkin decided to remedy this problem with one of his classic assault the crew techniques. After several takes, Friedkin took O'Malley aside and asked him, "Do you trust me?" And if you've seen Friedkin, like in any of the documentaries, the guy looks like he is a coke-addled nightmare. Like, he's extremely eccentric.
He is peak Stephen King.
Exactly. So he pulls him over. He's like, "Do you trust me?" And as soon as O'Malley says yes, Friedkin slapped him in the face and pushed him out and yelled action, and they shot the film. And that is the take that is used in the scene. You can actually see his hands are shaking as he's trying to help, because he's so sort of like frustrated and vexed by it. So it works, just, one of those things to try to elicit a performance, apparently.
Yeah.
The puke team on The Exorcist first tried Campbell's soup for the projectile vomit scene, but was unsatisfied with the consistency, so then switched to a combination of Anderson's pea soup and oatmeal. They actually had to... You can get all this stuff. Some of this is not mythical at all. That's nonsense. All right. Blatty's novel upon which the film was based, also called The Exorcist, was itself inspired by the real-life exorcism, which took place in 1949, and I've detailed this previously. Some of this stuff. But years after Doe's exorcism, the investigative journalist Mark Opsasnick, that's it, Opsasnick. Good luck with that one.
That sounds Swedish
Opsasnick.
Or Scandinavian. I'm going to say Scandinavian.
And you win. Sure.
Sure.
Points for me. Yes.
This journalist asserts that the priest and church officials saw a possessed child because that's what they wanted to see. And in reality, according to him, Doe was a simply spoiled, disturbed bully who threw deliberate tantrums to get attention or get out of school.
Oh, I was thinking that was going to go somewhere much different.
You would hope. Which
they saw a they wanted to see a kid. I'm like, whoa. I feel like this is going to be a little
easy,
edgy here. Anyway,
all right. I'm skirting past a few of these because some of this stuff is nonsense.
Yeah. As an aside, I did look up William Friedman, and he does look a little bit like King. And I also would be a little off put if he came up to me. He's like, "Do you trust me?" I would probably say no.
Yeah, he's a
little terrifying.
He's a little sketchy. Yeah. All right, I'm going to include this just because I'm sure it will tickle John's taint a little bit here. But in the film's introduction, the statue Father Merrin faces is an effigy of Pazuzu, an ancient Assyrian and Babylonian demon. This is the demon that comes to, of course, possess Regan. He is the king of the wind demons, which is apparently another, Sons of Anarchy charter that I didn't encounter.
Right.
The son of the god Hanbi, and has been around since the 8th century BCE. There is actually a whole Ghost Adventures episode surrounding Zozo, which is supposed to be the modern sort of iteration of Pazuzu. So interesting stuff, and people calling it on demon boards. So this phenomenon has extended even into the current climate now. Interesting thing if you want to watch that sometime. But Pazuzu was terrifying in appearance, as the Metropolitan Museum of Art explains. Here you are. He stands on 2 legs and has human arms ending in claws, with 2 pairs of wings, a scorpion's tail, a snake-headed erect penis, and a horned, bearded head with bulging eyes and snarling canine mouth.
And when he's not busy possessing young women, he likes to be called Kevin. This is his preferred name. He
enjoys tennis and the butt.
He kind of sounds, in description, almost, except for the penis and everything that you just described, I almost see him as the
dude
from Death Note, if you've ever watched that anime.
I have not.
Oh, the Shinigami?
Yeah.
Bless you.
The main demon-esque thing.
Yeah.
Literally, I can't remember what it's Shinigami is Japanese for, but it's like death.
If you have the inclination, it is a fantastic anime. However, I would only recommend for you, Shane, probably like the first arc, which I think is about 10 episodes.
Okay.
It gets the first half before it gets really odd.
There's a very weird dip that happens in the middle of that anime where it's nonsensical almost for the sake of just being nonsensical. But speaking of Pazuzu, terrified the fuck out of me to see that the flashing in the movie.
The ghost face, yeah.
You can find that still.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God, that's fucking terrifying.
It's a very unnerving vision. And you would think like a guy just in, white sort of like makeup with odd, stuff painted on, but it's still a terrifying look.
Oh, yeah. I think the first time I watched it, that's what scared me the most was that image. And that's another testament to that movie in particular, is that literally is a slide. Like, it's not a fraction of a second that you see that on screen.
Yep.
And it was enough to terrify me.
It's the picture with like the shady face. You know what? Actually, I could just share the screen.
Yes, you can.
We are in the future.
Look at us, technological and stuff.
That?
Oh
yes. This thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's mildly terrifying.
It hit my stomach just seeing it like that. So
it literally just Pazuzu image Exorcist, the first image that obviously isn't the girl.
Yes.
So
now, funnily enough, though Pazuzu cut a frightening figure, according to this article, he wasn't an evil possessor as shown in the film. Rather, he was a fierce protector guarding against attacks from Lamashtu, an ancient female demon that preyed upon pregnant women and tried to take infants to feed on. So obviously, how you protect against that is snake penis.
I mean,
do like how
you should snake penis. So.
I mean, I'm snake penis right now.
I'm throwing rope as we speak.
Poison, yes.
Constant.
That girl is poison.
Running through my veins. Yeah. I couldn't say anything after that. I just whatever.
All right. So following the fire and a number of other strange occurrences, Friedkin asked Reverend Thomas Birmingham to perform an exorcism on the set. At first he declined, but after hearing stories from the crew, he agreed to perform a blessing. Reverend Birmingham is also said to have spoken to the cast and crew, who by this point had grown increasingly uncomfortable. So Ellen Burstyn, who played Chris MacNeil, the mother of Regan, suffered a permanent spinal injury while filming. In a scene where Chris is thrown across the room by her possessed daughter, executed through the use of a harness, the harness jerked her violently, and she fell hard on her coccyx during a particular take. The screaming that can be heard during the scene is Burstyn expressing genuine pain as a result of the injury, which she is still affected by today. Linda Blair, who played Regan, was also seriously injured with her back while being thrown around on her bed by a rig, which I'm assuming is the rig that did like the flippy bit where she says she's burning. So, consequently, Linda Blair, who was 12 when initially cast, 14 when it was released, so you can say she's probably, the joys of being pubescent while trying to do this as well. She had a vibrant and playful personality, of course, leading to her charm and relatability prior to the possession. But due to the stress of the shooting schedule, however, Blair is purported to have had several violent episodes on set, including throwing a shooting script at Friedkin during a particularly stressful sequence, which you would imagine, which oddly enough was the bed-shaking sequence where Ellen Burstyn was injured, which is interesting. So apparently that got a little fevered. And while this can, of course, be easily attributed to a teenager enduring a significantly stressful situation while also dealing with hormonal fluctuations, etc., several news sources have subsequently pointed to this as another byproduct of the work of a sinister spirit on the set, due to the stark contrast of the lighthearted affability of Blair's usual personality.
Maybe your director is just
That's possible. It's also likely that the crew played up a number of creepy incidents during the making of the film to generate interest in the movie, which is what a lot of this is pointed toward.
Yeah, I mean, you take a kind, sweethearted person, like, you poke them enough times, they're gonna eventually bite back.
You also have
they're not just gonna take it.
You've got the coke addict who's firing guns off on set and slapping people in the face to try to elicit performances, but he actually was really genteel and kind of like loving with her. They show a lot of where he says she was like a surrogate child to him, and they show him like hugging her on set, and he said he would like cajole her into doing things like daring her. He's like, now you're going to take this crucifix and pretend you're shoving it between your legs. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. He's like, oh, come on. It's like this. I was like, please. It's like, this is so pervy. It's really disturbing. But okay, we're almost done. I have 3 more points here. There were reports by the Washington Post in 1974 of heart attacks around the world spiking when the film premiered, and lightning bolts targeting a theater that was screening the film in Italy. I think I have more details of this later on. Yes, the first time the film was screened in Rome, it was at a theater located between 2 churches. On the day of the screening, there was a torrential rain and a lightning storm brewing in the background to create a haunting effect. One of the 400-year-old crosses was struck by lightning and fell into the middle of the plaza while the film was being premiered.
Okay.
I mean, that's metal as fuck. I guess that's aside from just sighing again with like correlation does not equal causation.
Yes.
But I mean, still, that's metal as fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Jason Miller, who played Father Karras in the film, our primary protagonist, was approached by a priest on the street while they were filming. The priest
As you do.
gave him a medallion and said to him, unbidden, "Reveal the devil for the trickster that he is. He will seek retribution against you, or he will even try to stop what you are trying to do to unmask him."
Did he accept the quest?
I mean, apparently, because he finished the film.
How much coin does he get for the side quest?
7.
Yeah, I like that. I'm like, all right, sure, I'll bite. Where do I start this quest? What's the meeting point? Where's it on my map?
And here's another one which I have not seen substantiated anywhere, but I found it was funny, so I included it. But the presence of darkness was so strong that Blatty, while writing the book, experienced strange and supernatural activities, such as things randomly levitating in the air.
That's bullshit.
You mean paranormal activity?
Now it's
wink.
It's very possible that it's bullshit. I did not make that up. That is something that I pulled. So
motherfucker.
It's fun. So there you are, gentlemen. Those are the rumors and myths that I was able to dredge up surrounding. Now, I'm sure that docuseries that's coming out will probably have much more entertaining and lurid, ribald tales to impart.
Oh, we're talking about the
That's what
Shudder
I found.
docuseries?
I'm excited to see it.
I think it's out already.
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have to track it down.
Use your free free trial of the subscription. I haven't done it yet, but
I had a free trial to Shudder last week when I looked at the pictures of pig titty.
Oh, yeah.
I shuddered a lot.
Now, speaking of lies, what were the lies?
Okay. Scrolling back up.
There was never actually a movie called The Exorcist.
The Exorcist is a myth.
And birds aren't real. Remember that, kids.
Set up.
So, the first lie that I squeaked by you is during the initial filming of the masturbation sequence, a member of the cast suffered an epileptic episode.
Okay.
That did not occur. That is all Shane.
All right.
I also was very pleased by coming up with the name Rowena Glover, spelled Glouver. So, just, that's for my own personal edification.
All right. Well, don't break your arm jerking yourself off there, guy. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
It's already done. I'm sorry. I've got carpal tunnel. The second lie is that 3 crew members suffered pneumonia during the shoot based on the 30 to 40 degree temperatures.
All right.
I called bullshit on the wrong thing.
Did.
I should just call down the whole thing.
Well,
I'm like, there's no way they survived.
They did all still, like, everyone was wearing parkas. At least there wasn't anyone that I saw that was purported to have gotten sick, but it was stand to reason. You're like, if you're standing in frigid temperatures, someone had to have gotten sick at some point.
Oh, yeah, no, I believed it.
Yep.
I mean, I made the joke that, like, yeah, no, they didn't survive. They just died on set like everyone else, but I mean, it sounded legit.
And then the last one, which I overwrote, but Linda Blair did not ever have any fits on set. She never threw anything at the director. She was a sweet, affable child. She was charming the entire time. She took everything with wonderful grace and ease for someone who was 13. She was always really sweet, fun to be around. She was laughing. If you see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, she's constantly got a smile on her face, in spite of the fact that they said that it was unnerving because she could just turn it on. So she would go from smiling, being completely charming, to making those faces and doing the bleh. So,
all right.
Lots of fun.
Props.
So those are the lies that we have.
Wow.
And good lies they are.
Well, bless you for saying so.
That lived up. That lived
the
up to the
last
hype. That was a
two
lot of fun.
were
I've been
great.
looking forward to this topic for multiple weeks now. So
I just wish that, I had found, a little more material to pull from. There just was not a lot out there, sadly.
I have a request that's semi-similar to what we just did. I know I've mentioned this movie before. I can't remember what episode.
It's the
I'm
only
not going to be
movie
bothered
that
to
you've ever
look it
seen.
up. No, I haven't seen
God,
this movie.
Debbie does dogs.
Damn it.
But it's called Cannibal Holocaust.
Okay.
And it is a similarly troubled
Isn't that the one where
movie.
most of the people that made the movie went to jail because there's like rumors that they actually filmed people being eaten?
Close. There were people that were arrested when it was originally aired in Milan. This is all essentially the extent that I know of I watched a little video on it, but it didn't really go into detail about the shooting per se. But the director, I believe, was arrested for animal cruelty because in that movie, all the animal sacrifice scenes were real and done on real animals.
Oh, fun.
So, yes, but it was one of the first found footage movies. It was from the 70s, but there was a lot of interesting things that went into it that I would really like to see you present.
Okay, there's another one actually I was looking at as well that is mythical in the films of like obscure professional wrestling fans, but there's a film called Blood Circus that is shot and directed by a gentleman named Santo Gold, and there is a purported character. It's like there's zombies, and it's professional wrestlers against zombies. If you watch the trailer before we get out of here, I'll look it up and share it with you. But it is the most ludicrous thing in the world. And to advertise the film, they made faux infomercials for selling Santo Gold. So it was like, call in and get a 24-karat bar of Santo Gold and see Blood Circus when it comes out in theaters. Like, it's ghastly. Very interesting to see. Anywho, are we prepared to explain and debut our new segment here, gentlemen?
Michael has been working tirelessly on
touching himself.
That, but I would, Michael, would you describe
am.
this as your baby, your love child?
My magnum opus. Well, this is my peak. After this is done, I'll have nowhere else to go.
I don't want to see your opus. Put it away.
This is more important to me than my PhD program or my thesis.
Would you say that?
I would say that. Mm-hmm.
That's safe to say, right?
I've been.
You don't say that.
Yeah. You quote me on it, fuckers. No.
I mean, you're the editor. Just clip
please
yourself,
don't. Nah. I'll leave it in. I don't care. But I mean, my professor is never going to listen to this.
Because you killed him. He's dead.
Well, I hope. But no, I've been talking about this ever since we recorded it. What was that, episode 25? The World's Worst Fan Fiction? That was when I originally talked about doing a Germanic reading, and we even mentioned
Germanic reading?
Yes.
Yeah, a Germanic.
Welcome. We are here to give welcome and Scheisse. Here is Ebony Darkness.
All right.
But so and then we even mentioned it last week about doing a quote
serialized
unquote,
version.
Serious, yes, literary analysis of it. So I figured we would debut it today.
It's
debut.
Pronounced
Yes.
debut. We've been around each other a little too long, John.
What's the plan here? What are we doing to him?
So this is what I will, since we're doing this just cold open, what I figured is we would read each chapter since they're very, very short. I mean, I even in that episode read the first chapter. We read each chapter and then we, I don't know, spend a couple of minutes trying to pull some sort of literary meaning from it. And what I mean by a few minutes, I mean we try and think up bullshit in a serious tone until we can't anymore, which will probably only last at most a couple minutes per.
Sometimes you can't get blood from a stone, my friend.
Exactly. And I figured we would do just 2 episodes, or if there's episodes, 2 chapters each time, unless there's a chapter that's exceedingly long.
Okay.
Because some of them do get that way. So
well, we'll just dive in headlong now. I will be essaying the role of the narrator for this story, and for chapter 1, as denoted here, John will be essaying the role of Draco Malfoy.
Yeah, I have a voice prepped.
It's suitable,
yes.
Actually. You know, nice face, Potter.
Yeah, something like
that. Mike is going to be essaying the role of Ebony Darkness, Dementia Raven Way.
Well, on that note, ready to kill a couple brain cells, gentlemen?
I'm so ready. Yes,
I'm ready. My body is ready. My mind is ready.
Do we need to do like copyright warnings for this as we're running through?
I don't give a fuck.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that. No.
Do we have to do any attribution as we're going through, Michael?
It's public domain.
You know what? Sure. I will attribute it to a Tara Gillespie.
Yeah, come fight me.
I'll also, well, considering that the original
was in a public forum, yeah.
Well, and it's also been taken down. I can leave a link to the first page of the, I guess, repost done by someone else.
Okay.
I believe I will just say their name for record's sake, because why not?
I'm just saying, when we get in trouble for this, it's your fault. Yeah. That's what I'm pointing
financially.
out.
X Midnight Essence XX, who is the brilliant, beautiful person that reposted this in its entirety for us to read.
For lack of a better term.
Yes.
Okay. So, My Immortal, as performed by the hosts of the Disinformed podcast. Chapter 1. Hi. My name is Ebony Darkness, Dementia Raven Way, and I have long ebony black hair. Parenthetical. That's how I got my name. With purple streaks and red tips that reaches my mid-back, and icy blue eyes like limpid tears, and a lot of people tell me I look like Amy Lee. I'm not related to Gerard Way, but I wish I was, because he's a major fucking hottie. I'm a vampire, but my teeth are straight and white. I have pale white skin. I'm also a witch, and I go to a magic school called Hogwarts in England, where I'm in the 7th year. Parenthetical. I'm 17. I'm a goth. Parenthetical. In case you couldn't tell. And I wear mostly black. I love Hot Topic, and I buy all my clothes from there. For example, today I'm wearing a black corset with matching lace around it, and a black leather miniskirt, pink fishnets, and black combat boots. I was wearing black lipstick, white foundation, black eyeliner, and red eyeshadow. I was walking outside Hogwarts. It was snowing and raining, so there was no sun, which I was very happy about. A lot of preps stared at me. I put up my middle finger at them. "Hey, everybody!" shouted a voice. I looked up. It was Draco Malfoy.
"What's up, Draco?"
I asked.
Nothing.
Draco said shyly. But then I heard my friends call me, and I had to go away.
All right, so let's kind of dissect that chapter.
Yeah.
I think it's about female empowerment.
I can see how you got there. That seems reasonable to me. Obviously we are akin to the way that George Romero himself pointed at consumerist culture from the joyful, Dawn of the Dead. Similarly here, I think we are somewhat indicting, those who consume, particularly those who consume Hot Topic materials. But I mean, There is something that points to how vapid one would have to be in order to appreciate things that are sold by the Hot Topic.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the consumerism aspect to it all. And, how you're a product of your environment. I'm definitely picking that up. I mean, if she wasn't surrounded by these things at home, she wouldn't feel necessarily drawn to them. She's kind of a product of her environment.
And we don't know what that environment is outside of the Hogwarts, but right. we'll get there, hopefully.
In Hogwarts, is that an actual place, or are we just speaking of a metaphor?
That is a fine point. I thought that Hogwarts were the things that you had to go get lanced and removed by a doctor once, every 3 to 4 weeks, or some topical ointment or something. But who knows?
Michael, what do you have? Do you have any?
So, I definitely agree with your idea that she's rebelling in a sense, or she's demonstrating who she is, especially given that I'm taking the assumption that Hogwarts functions in that there are uniforms, and as such you would want to rebel against those uniform standards, which is how she is demonstrating her individuality, right? Not just wearing black, though. She also has some color to her, some liveliness, which you can see in the fact that she wears pink fishnets to complement her black leather miniskirt and black combat boots.
And red eyeshadow, because nothing screams feminine empowerment to me like black eyeliner and red eyeshadow.
And
you've dated women like that.
Oh, twice.
And I actually will agree with John's female empowerment in that she doesn't feel the need to follow any sort of specific trend, but instead to set her own by wearing whatever she damn well please.
Indeed. And yes. She doesn't feel the need to get those Hogwarts treated.
No, not one bit.
No.
In fact, she is stunning and brave because she is going to this school in England that's only a school for people to get those Hogwarts removed, but yet she's so steadfast in her own self-identity.
Indeed, to the point that she also extends the middle finger at the preps.
Yeah, and the preps, of course, are the ones that do not have the Hogwarts.
Indeed, yes. They are the ones who wear the uniforms with no eyeshadow.
I do want to say, though, I think that it is a little odd that she has an attraction to Gerald Way even though
Did you just say
she's not
Gerald?
Yep.
Gerard, whatever.
I'm afraid Gerald Way is a dramatically different person. He lives in Sheboygan and he has a band called My Chemical Hotpants.
I mean, it's alternate universe, I guess. But like, I do find it odd that she wishes she was related to him. So maybe she has some sort of like conflict in her head where she wants to be attracted to him, but she can't like justify it because she's not related to him. So maybe we can try and gather like where she was from, like maybe a particular place where
Roll
like,
Tide?
maybe I was gonna lead into that, but maybe we can take it from there and
Just
like gather from that.
sowing the seeds of sowing seeds. Yeah, I like where your head's at.
Well,
and she likes where your head's at.
Well, only if they're related.
Yeah, I don't think I'm related to her.
What we're
so-
trying to say is that if Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way had as many dicks on the outside of her as she has had inside of her, she would be a porcupine.
Yeah, I mean,
You don't know how true that statement
in a
is.
sense. But I feel like what we need. I feel like we could dive into the next chapter. We're doing the first 2 chapters. This is a little, a little teaser. So.
Yeah, let's get a little more information here, shall we?
Yes. I feel like we covered that first chapter, and there was a lot of good start.
Yeah,
to
fuck
it. A lot of
yeah, book
potential.
club. Yeah, let's do it.
Now,
Yeah. I like it.
would you prefer that I not pronounce the parentheticals when they happen, or
I think
is
the
that
parentheticals are fine.
Yeah,
It's,
it's a more straightforward way of indicating when it's like, because
It's
I
like
always see
stage direction almost.
it's an
Yes.
aside, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that's a lot easier than changing your voice or pitch to signify like, because we don't have the video component to make it look like a whisper, So I like the parenthetical. If you feel okay with it, then by all means keep going on.
I will give the contingency for you that if you're doing the parentheticals, then I do note on chapter 2 that there are parentheticals next to some character names. So maybe
That's stage
was-
direction for you, yeah.
That was I added that because initially I didn't have the
Faith
blank
in John's
said-
acting ability.
No, not that. I had that added on because in the text she would have the author would have blank said this, or person's like the quotation, and then blank said excitedly or shyly. But since I figured, but then I added on the narrator stating who said what and what sort of emotion.
What he's saying is he wants us to dogpile on top of the fact that if you say something excitedly, I then will add on, he said excitedly.
Yes, because I will note, having read it and understanding a lot of the internet culture surrounding it, that the extra emotions that are added on are a funny part of the fan fiction.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of added on, like someone will say something and it's like, no, I don't want to. They said seductively, like, or
right.
like, yeah. So
True stories. Okay.
Well, let's do this.
all right.
Chapter 2. The next day, I woke up in my bedroom. It was snowing and raining again. I opened the door of my coffin and drank some blood from a bottle I had. My coffin was black ebony, and inside it was hot pink velvet with black lace on the ends. I got out of my coffin and took of my giant MCR t-shirt, which I used for pajamas. Instead, I put on a black leather dress, a pentagram necklace, combat boots, and black fishnets on. I put on 4 pairs of earrings in my pierced ears, and put my hair in a kind of messy bun. My friend Willow woke up then and grinned at me. She flipped her long waist-length, raven black hair with pink streaks and opened her forest green eyes. She put on her Marilyn Manson t-shirt with a black mini, fishnets, and pointy, high-heeled boots. We put on our makeup, parenthetical, black lipstick, white foundation, and black eyeliner.
OMFG, I saw you talking to Jacob Malfoy yesterday.
Willow said excitedly.
Yeah. So
I said, blushing.
Do you like Jacob?
Willow asked as we went out of the Slytherin common room and into the great hall.
No, I so fucking don't.
I shouted.
Yeah, alright.
Willow exclaimed. Just then, Draco walked up to me.
Hi!
Draco said.
Hi.
I replied flirtily.
Guess what?
He fucking fumbled. He said.
What?
I had some sort of bizarre menstrual movement. Oh, Michael, you can't have puberty on the microphone. It's going to spoil everything.
I'm sorry. I'm giggling and it's making my voice crack.
I
Sorry.
asked.
Well, Good Charlotte are having a concert in Hogsmeade.
He told me.
Oh my fucking god.
I screamed. I love GC. They are my favorite band, besides MCR.
Well, do you want to go with me?
He asked. I gasped. End of chapter 2.
Wow, that's an emotional roller coaster, guys.
I agree.
Yeah.
I barely survived, to be completely honest with you.
I did not. My voice cracked and I broke character there. So
So I think we're going to very quickly curtail this, taking this seriously, because there's no way I'm going to make it through this straight-faced. I put up a good fight, but dear God, okay.
I blame John. That Draco voice was too much.
He's called.
A combination between Billy Quizboy and Arseface.
I
Guess
really
what?
enjoy that Draco has too much cerebrospinal fluid right now.
He's just got a lot of things to think about.
I'm gonna really love to hear him try to cast spells too.
he keeps trying to cast spells, but because of the impediment, they don't really work.
Now, my favorite of all of these spells in the Potterverse, of course, was spawned by the Half-Blood Prince. But I would really relish hearing our version of Draco go, "Shittum Shipra!" Okay, well, let's resume fucking this pig. I feel like, sleeping in a coffin is just not practical. So there must be some sort of metaphor that
It's
we're belaboring
metaphorical.
here.
Yeah, it's metaphorical
Yes.
for sure.
She's in a prison. Her life itself is sort of a death, and so she has to embrace that with her sleeping
The coffin
quarters.
is her life. She's sleeping inside of her own self, and she's coming out of her shell, her coffin every day when she has to put on her gothic face.
Well, can we talk about the fact that it's pink on the inside?
Aren't we
Not
all?
just pink,
Aren't
it's
we
hot
all?
pink.
Aren't we all?
We are indeed all pink
I
on the
think
inside.
it goes back to the femininity that John mentioned. She's being birthed. She's coming out of a vagina.
And she's
A
doing
black
just
vagina.
fine.
I also do want to ask, because I didn't bring this up in the last chapter, but it was snowing and raining.
Again.
I believe that there's an important dichotomy that we're missing here.
Yes, that the author doesn't know the word sleet.
Well, I think.
Damn it!
I think you really hit or struck gold there, rather, because if the famous poet Aaron Lewis taught me anything, it's that it's always raining inside my head. So maybe it's to describe her mood.
It's just like your morning activities. It was a good pull, John.
Yeah.
And how?
I like it.
I also feel like the multiple pierced ears and the kind of messy bun says a lot about her feminine empowerment as well, and that she's prepared to be penetrated and not have to deal with making herself up at all, and that's appreciable.
So two things are like just jumping out at me just looking back at the text, and that's we glossed over the fact that she woke up and she drank some blood.
Mm-hmm.
So
she is a vampire.
Oh, that's right.
She did say that.
Okay.
Yes.
She's a
Also-
gothic vampire.
Also,
Yes.
Willow woke up and then grinned at her. Are they sharing a coffin?
That I don't know. I mean,
we're all sharing a coffin in the Sylvia Plath sense of the word.
Now,
but,
I don't know how this reads. I don't know what's next, and I'm not going to go forward. But if I had to give a prediction, I would say that we're having a potential Fight Club situation on our hands. What if Ebony and Willow are the same person, and Willow is just the Brad Pitt, you know?
I will say, in preparation of this, I removed author's notes because there were a couple. Each chapter started with an author's note, and then there were occasionally, like, probably, yes. I didn't want it to be too... I didn't want to break the fourth wall per se. But I will say that the author, Tara Gillespie, had a friend... Bloody Tears 666, I think.
We've discussed in the episode, yes.
Who pretty much edited the first, I don't know, couple dozen chapters.
So we can blame her.
Her friend, the Willow, is a self-insert of that particular person.
Okay.
So
who also gets killed later on during the dissolution of the friendship and then brought back in because everyone gets resurrected in this thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I feel like we have a really good pace going here. And because I am so titillated by the concepts that are put forth here, I say we do chapter 3. And then we can move on.
Okay, I was hoping you were going to say yes for that because I'm excited now. I'm fully tempting right now.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I looked down when I said that. I don't know why. I'm like, we gotta check.
There's a fairly famed introduction of a character at the end of this chapter, if I recall correctly, perhaps, or is it further along?
It is chapter 4.
Oh God!
If
we're gonna see how far we go.
If we get through chapter, we're gonna get through chapter 3, and that might be a really good cliffhanger setup. You know. So,
yes. Prepare, children.
We'll definitely see.
All right. Chapter 3. On the night of the concert, I put on my black lace-up boots with high heels. Underneath them were ripped red fishnets. Then I put on a black leather mini dress with all this corset stuff on the back and front. I put on matching fishnets on my arms. I straightened my hair and made it look all spiky. I felt a little depressed then, so I slit one of my wrists. I read a depressing book while I waited for it to stop bleeding, and I listened to some GC. As a reader's note here, Good Charlotte will make anybody cut themselves, guaranteed.
And then also trigger warning, slit wristing. Wow. Wrist slitting.
Nope,
I
slit
guess
wristing.
I missed this.
Slit wristing, yes. Hashtag slit wristing.
Whoops.
Slut wristing. Back in. I painted my nails black and put on tons of black eyeliner. Then I put on some black lipstick. I didn't put on foundation because I was pale anyway. I drank some human blood, so I was ready to go to the concert. I went outside. Draco was waiting there, in front of his flying car. He was wearing a Simple Plan t-shirt. Parenthetical, they would play at the show too. Baggy black skater pants, black nail polish, and a little eyeliner.
Hi, Draco.
I said in a depressed voice.
Hi, Ebony.
He said back. We walked into his flying black Mercedes-Benz, parenthetical, the license plate said 666, and flew to the place with the concert. On the way, we listened excitedly to Good Charlotte and Marilyn Manson. We both smoked cigarettes and drugs. When we got there, we both hopped out of the car. We went to the mosh pit at the front of the stage and jumped up and down as we listened to Good Charlotte. This is a Michael note here. Here the fanfic writes several lines from one of their songs, but I'm not writing them for copyright. Thank you.
Covering our bases.
And our asses, yes.
Joel is so fucking hot,
I said to Draco, pointing to him as he sung, filling the club with his... Sorry, I threw up in my mouth a little bit there. Filling the club with his amazing voice. Suddenly, Draco looked sad.
What's wrong?
I asked as we moshed to the music. Then I caught on.
Hey, it's okay. I don't like him better than you.
I said.
Really?
Asked Draco sensitively as he put his arms around me all protective and wiped the saliva from my face.
Really? Besides, I don't even know Joel, and he's going out with Hillary fucking Duff. I fucking hate that little bitch.
I said disgustedly, thinking of her ugly blonde face. The night went on really well, and I had a great time. So did Draco. After the concert, we drank some beer and asked Benji and Joel for their autographs and photos with them. We got GC concert tees. Draco and I crawled back into the Mercedes-Benz, but Draco didn't go back into Hogwarts. Instead, he drove the car into the Forbidden Forest.
That is too good of a cliffhanger to ruin.
Da da da! Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Oh man, Hillary Duff is a fucking bitch. I agree.
Well, and her face is apparently blonde, which is difficult.
Shit. There was something I wanted to... Oh, yes. I did want to mention that I thought it was interesting that she decided to not put on foundation.
Well, she's pale enough already.
Yes, indeed.
But I wonder what changed between the last chapter and this chapter.
I think what she's trying to say is, if you love Good Charlotte, all of us have no foundation. We are
or
just...
bases, yes.
Yes, indeed. We're just all free-floating in the ether, waiting for our imminent demise.
Oh, you'll float.
You'll float down!
Y'all float.
You're not done!
I... Damn it.
You know what I also thought as we got halfway through that chapter and they were drinking? I thought, tasty, tasty beer.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I also want to bring up the author's, I would say, or no, not the author, Ebony's, lack of knowledge considering just drugs or illicit substances in general when you smoke cigarettes and drugs.
You can smoke drugs. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I seen it.
I seen it twice.
I done seen it. Tell you what. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, that struck me as, it struck a chord with me that, you know, maybe she was just talking it up that she did those things, but she actually didn't.
I mean, it's somewhat inconsequential to the story that they smoked the cigarettes and drugs. I mean, it just... There's only so many verbs in the English language, Michael, and she doesn't want to waste all of them in the first 3 chapters. So, I mean, you can just smoke the drugs. It's fine.
Fair. No, that is a good point. I definitely would agree.
And, Michael, have you ever tried smoking cocaine?
Can't say that I have, actually.
Well, have you ever waited to finish bleeding out while reading a depressing book?
That I actually did this morning. Before I went into work, but it was the work that incited said incident to begin with. So, trying to get out of that awkward thing.
Too late.
Failure. I do like that Draco had some characterization going on, some more character building.
Yeah, he's a shy boy. You know, he's
and,
insecure.
Yes. Very insecure and jealous, even.
And I have to tell you, though, when I was in the midst of... I got hung up because the word is highlighted here, but saying... As said to Draco, pointing to him as he sung, I almost read it as snug, which probably would have been even funnier, but yes, pointing to him as he snug. But,
Oh man, I don't think I have any really analytical analysis for the chapter because this is more of like not an action sequence, but this is setting up. This is a setup. That's all this is.
Yeah, it's definitely a setup.
This doesn't really develop anyone outside of Draco. Like she doesn't do anything, and it's all. This is just an action piece to get you to what I'm sure is going to be a sensational moment in the Forbidden Forest.
Well, I think though we have somewhat moved past a very interesting point here insofar as we have established that neither of them have taste in music. And so,
right.
We can extrapolate going forward that this is going to be emblematic of their lack of taste in general. Not making any sort of commentary on their stylistic choices.
This is kind of like it's kind of like setting Romeo and Juliet in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And putting it between two rival gangs and their hip hop communities. So you have Good Charlotte versus Simple Plan. Like, maybe it's this, like, emo sexy thing going on.
Are you attempting to impugn the good goddamn name of Baz Luhrmann here, sir?
I don't understand the question, and I won't respond to it.
Well, I don't have an end to this bit, so I will just simply take a small bow.
Thank you, and good night.
Well, I think that was a delight, and hopefully the readers are going to... The readers? All right. Well, we're readers, and hopefully the listeners will enjoy this just as much as we have throwing this down. But I'm excited we're doing this, gentlemen. This should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, Michael threatened to quit if we didn't, so we kind of have to see this one out.
Now, the question...
I didn't threaten to quit. I threatened to stop editing, which you guys immediately acquiesced to.
That means we quit, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I totally spaced off that I should also be affecting a British accent while I'm doing this, since this does take place at Hogwarts.
It's beautiful.
Ebony has not mentioned that she is British or otherwise, so...
But, I mean, if she has the Hogwarts, I mean, she can't be of this country.
No, it's also beautiful that you're doing the Ron Howard Arrested Development narration. So I would rather you go straight forward, like you're Ron Howard now. So
okay. Well, he and I share the same hairline, so I mean, it's just...
If anything, I should be talking with a more British accent, but I can barely keep my pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you can barely keep your gender at this point with all the...
If you thought Draco was interesting, you just wait till you meet Dumbledore.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's... I'm excited. I felt...
Spoiler, it's Gandalf.
I did give John Dumbledore to speak, and I will try and keep these the names or like who voices what pretty much on the nose or consistent, so that you will be Draco for the whole read, John.
I'm looking forward to hearing your Ian McKellen, sir.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's gonna be just as bad as my Draco. So,
oh no, I really want to continue, but I feel like this is a better stopping point.
Agreed.
You gotta and also this is a new lane for the podcast, so
yeah,
you gotta ease it in. If you learned anything with Shane and anal sex,
I just want to thrust it. Just prolapse it.
You gotta spit and then circle with the finger, and then you push a little bit, and then if you're catsuit, you gotta say, you gotta push a little harder, sweetheart, and then you go full tilt.
So, also...
Nice reference there.
And what John asked her, since we were on the topic of Gandalf, when she was removing the butt plug, John asked, is it secret? Is it safe?
And I can't recreate the sound, but it was not secret.
You shall not pass.
I would hope not.
Well played.
I want it to pass.
She frosted me like a fucking cake. Well, boils and ghouls.
I think we put this shit at the end of the episode just to see if anyone reaches it. It's peppered in. By the way, Sam obviously still has not heard the scathing review we gave her because...
Can we talk about the fact that Sam is not in touch with reality at all right now, because she still was asking us why someone's vocal wasn't present on a track that we recorded? So, we'll just leave Sam... When the vocalist
was not even in the recording, in the room, and it was very, very, very loudly talked about.
Yes, several times.
Anywho...
In her defense, we have not all been in the same room with one another for a good long while, and I don't read her texts. So, I mean, there really wasn't any opportunity for us to have a conversation.
I don't recognize her as a human, so...
As of right now, I basically consider that half of our band is a figment of my imagination, and I just treat them as such.
You're just
oh my God.
You're just sitting alone in your room, and you're like, do things just happen because I say them?
It's like
really
I listen.
Nice if I had a violin in my band.
No, what's funny is I listen to our tracks and I'm like, Holy shit, we have a violin player?
That is one sexy sounding MIDI track.
Indeed. Well, ladies and germaphobes, I believe that we have dogpiled on our poor violinist long enough, and we've dogpiled on you, the listeners, for long enough as well. So thank you for enduring this first installment of us clusterfucking My Immortal. And we hope that you're all having fun, because God knows this is what's keeping us semi-sane as we go through this crazy wasteland, irradiated as it is. So anything else we would like to impart before we head out of here, Jenglefins?
Just because I believe in the rule of threes, birds aren't real.
You should do an episode on it.
Nah, it require research.
I tried. It was a half-assed attempt, but I tried.
Apparently John's got the bird flu as opposed to the kung fu flu, so it's or the kung flu, kung lao,
the Chinese chicken.
I will
have a drumstick and your dick stops ticking.
I hope not.
Well,
I do want to say though, if you the listeners liked the dramatic reading, please let us know.
Here's Michael going into his blubbery-headed sex life again.
Much like I extended this out to Mr. Titty Pig. If you disliked the episode, you can message us directly, and I will give you Michael's personal phone number.
Oh, good. I was going to say, it's just going to be me again. We're going to have to...
Considering Shane will be the one answering the emails.
No, listen, there's only so many texts I can ignore, kids, okay? Like, it's just, I'm getting close to my threshold here. Sooner or later, I'm going to respond to somebody.
Oh, boy.
Well, one way that you can get in touch with us to let us know that you've appreciated this or hated it with just an absolute enmity is you can find us on your preferred podcast provider app, and you can like and subscribe, and if you like what we do, rate and review. But if you hate it, you can also tell us there as well, because
please,
all news is good news as far as we're concerned.
I just want to know that I exist.
Also, give us a little feedback on Instagram. You can find us there at Disinformed Podcast, or perhaps, you're one of those Facebook folk. Maybe you're older than 45 and you just can't deal with the electronics the way other people
Are you targeted by a virus? Then you might be on Facebook.
Do you believe in birds? Well, you can find us on Facebook.com/Disinformed Podcast and tell us all about them. And furthermore, if you are one of these hip newfangled fuckers that use the glorious Twitter, we are there at Disinformed Pod. And I believe that is going to wrap this up in a tasty, tasty little bow. For the Disinformed Podcast, I'm Shane.
I'm hardly holding on. I'm John.
I've fallen off a long time ago, and I'm Michael.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and just keep hanging on. Thanks for coming. Don't worry, I'll clean it up because I already have to with all the spit that I've got left around everywhere. It's so crazy. It's a great show. I love you guys.